but it was so comfy in that seat. Hi. I'm here to talk about PHP, our community, and us. It's going to be a lot about me. That's a little bit weird. First of all, I need to tell you that I have stage fright. You see, standing up here on stage, well, down here on stage, takes me back to when I was in school, an 11-year-old girl, presenting to all the other kids in class about whatever we learned, the latest king in Sweden. The girls in the back were laughing at me because I wasn't like the other girls. If you're different, you get picked on. You see, I was into boys' stuff. I was into computers. I loved computers. So much so that around that time, at 11-year-old, I started programming when PHP 4 just came out. So I want to share my difficult story with you and some highlights. It's quite a journey. So that's why I'm talking to you here, despite stage fright. It's important to know what some people might go through. Who in here ever used PHP 4? Wow, before PHP 5 even came out? Okay, everybody here is old. Who thought it was painful? I didn't. I loved it. It was absolutely amazing. It was the most amazing technology I had ever done. I could do anything with it. 11-year-old, super excited, all the kid stuff. Yay! And if you're bored, this picture is one of the best pictures of me. And you can always try to guess my accent. Programming is a little bit like playing an RPG game. The first level, when you start, you're super excited getting into the game, you're learning everything, you're absorbing so fast. And then at some point, some levels in, you want to try another character, say Ruby or AppleScript. And maybe at some point, you continue your other character and you do some other things. But I wanted to take PHP all the way to the end level. Turns out there is no end level. PHP is sort of unique in the programming world because it fits all the stages. You can be the newbie kid who knows nothing about computers, except these days kids know everything about computers, to the big software projects that we have today. You can literally do anything in PHP. How cool is that? I've been the newbie kid at 11 years old. I've been a student. And I am a senior PHP dev since quite some years back. So let's talk about the newbie stage, year 2000. That was when a lot of you were worrying about the millennium bug. I didn't even know what that was. We had PHP styling HTML in one file, and we thought this was the way to go. I'm sorry, it's a little bit blurry. But this was the way a lot of us did PHP, at least when we just got started, right? It was a nightmare. A little bit of a spoiler, this screenshot is actually pretty recent. It's not PHP 4 at all. So, of course, when you do this, you get bugs and your code doesn't quite run well, so you start feeling, literally feeling the pain when you're programming, even though you still have fun. Yeah. So I learned about include. That's cool. I can put more of my mess into my programming, but have it in another file. And Then I can abstract some things and make functions.php. And then I have all these cool things in there. And eventually it becomes sort of too large, so then you make functions 2.php. And then you become sort of more advanced. So I had separate files like header.php and footer.php, and a cool thing, config.php. Still some mixed HTML, CSS, and PHP, because that's the way you did things. I was convinced, at least, when I was 11 years old and had this cute website about me, or cats, I don't remember. My contact form, I don't know how this happened, but it got spammed and hacked, and I started looking into solutions. So I learned about user input validation and escaping and all this cool stuff. I did some micro optimizations. Eventually I started looking at putting my style sheets into an external file. That was so cool. And splitting some things out, making things make sense. But I wasn't really in contact with other people that did programming at this point. So I felt like, I need more, I need to learn more, I need to ask questions. I needed more. So my first community experience as an 11-year-old girl, I found out you should go to IRC, Freenode. That was a mistake. I chose my name as my handle. My first experience ever in a PHP community, I got kicked for pretending to be a girl to get help faster. And I did not understand the concept of how could I pretend to be who I am. That doesn't make any sense whatsoever. And then there was this little thing where people actually believed I was an FBI agent. Especially if they found out my age. And if they didn't find out my age, I'm not going to pronounce this. But this was a standard message I got on IRC back then. I didn't even have any boobs. So you can imagine the people online by then almost scared me away. But I loved programming so much, so I just went back. We don't need community. I don't need to talk to other people. So I isolated my code, still sort of do sometimes, and almost no one saw what I wrote. I'm sure a lot of you who had different paths recognize when you start doubting yourself and your code and wondering if your code is good enough. The only reason I stayed, actually, mom and dad, don't glow too much if you see this, but having supportive parents helped a lot. I still loved programming. I still loved what you could do with computers. So I remember this one time where I helped my dad set up all the new computers in his office in Serbia. Just setting up the computers, installing macOS, nothing complicated for me. And I was 12 years at the time, I believe. And a guy came in and he asked me, so my dad could also hear it, if I needed help to figure out how to turn on the computer. My dad went ballistic. He got really angry. She doesn't need any help. She knows everything about this. In fact, she set up this entire office. That guy didn't know what to say, and I think he learned a lesson that day, which was great. But not everyone is so lucky to have this supportive parents or supportive people around them. So most people who had my experience back then, they left. They never came back. that sucks. So enter the hobby stage. Years 2000 to 2007, about-ish. I joined the PHP community again, pretending to be male, and I was treated like everyone else. It was amazing, tip-top. I made bots and small websites. I made little scripts, those IRC scripts you made to kind of show which music you were playing. That was all the rage those days. Everybody always had to say on IRC, I'm playing this, I'm playing that. Don't know why. In 2004, PHP 5 came out. It was so much better than PHP 4, and it was object-oriented. I hated it. It didn't make any sense whatsoever to me. Functions that PHP made sense, right? But okay, it's the new way, so I changed my database functions to PHP to database class.php, wrapped it and called it object-oriented programming. Problem solved. But then, eventually, autoloading. That changed my life. Made everything so much better. In 2006, I was so sure of myself, someone asked for a web shop. Okay, some watches and whatever. No problem, I can make that in 3 days. And no. I did actually make a web shop in 3 days. It didn't last very long, and I was streaming in PHP for a couple of days because I didn't sleep. But I was young, so I didn't need sleep, it was fine. Don't make a web shop in 3 days. Bad experience. Not for me, I loved it, but the client, not so much. Barely paid me though, so it doesn't matter. I was still developing with FTP, before we had something cool. Sometimes directly on the server for small changes. Yeah. And then came the student stage where I actually started learning that everything I did was wrong. Oops. I learned object-oriented programming by learning Java. And suddenly it made sense, okay. Objects is just like real-world objects. Someone explained it to me properly for once. My favorite course was design patterns because I just learned so much. I felt like an architect and not just a software programmer. Yeah, I felt like an engineer, like the person I always wanted to be rather than just a coder. So I made an abstract mess in PHP, applying my newfound knowledge. Cool. And then I got completely lost in my spaghetti abstractions, and I had no clue what I did whatsoever. So, okay, someone else can do better than me. Let's use a framework. So I started using Send Framework 1. This is so much fun! Let's make my own framework. Who in here tried making your own framework? Wow! For those that didn't see, lots of people try that. We don't need to make our own framework. I never open source mine. Maybe I should find the code for fun so everybody can laugh. But computer science is awesome, right? We can do so much with computers today. So in 2010, I sort of felt like I'm ready to make this my profession. But having programmed since 2000, which was a decade, was so long, I felt like I should really easily be able to find a job, right? I'm newly fresh out of university. I could not find a job. They all demanded 3 years of experience, probably 10, even though this thing has only been out since 2 years. So I started my own business, and then suddenly everybody wanted to hire me. I got a mentor on IRC. He taught me about testing, which I had no clue about, via phpmentoring.org. And at this point in the community, a lot of people knew that I was a woman, and for the first time ever, it was okay. I could actually be me. There were still times where people were not so nice, but I had up power in almost every IRC channel I was in, and I was not afraid to use it. And then I was in a Dutch IRC group where Stefan Koopmanschap, among others, was in, because I had moved to Netherlands at that point. In my first conference, which was in Utrecht, changed everything for me. And I was still shy. I didn't want to meet all these real persons, people that program in real life. I can't do that. But I did anyway, because he convinced me. And it wasn't great, because I was almost the only woman there, but he made me feel welcome. So a few years later, I joined PHP Women, founded by Lig and Liz. It was really this awesome experience of finding people who had similar experiences like me. But why should we need a group to feel welcome? Why can't the community by default be a group where we feel welcome? Eventually, I became co-president of PHP Women and ran it for a few years. And we had booths at conferences, and usually we just handed out stickers, had fun, and kind of enjoyed being part of the community, except when you were at those booths and you got comments. And I know people were just laughing, having fun when they said, we need more women in PHP, the code will be so much cleaner. But please don't be trolls. It's not cool. And then there's a different thing. We had a culture actually, it's getting a lot better, where one could feel ashamed for not contributing to open source. And for me, putting my code out there when everybody says women can't code, that was too intimidating. So I was there at conferences, and a speaker would say, who in here contributed to open source? Stand up. So do it now. Stand up. Who in here contributed to open source? Stand up. Thank you. Applause. And then I would be one of those people in between everyone standing up and feeling ashamed yet again for being different. And I also didn't want to contribute my free time to someone else's projects. I didn't feel like it was fair. I still don't feel like it is fair. I feel like we should be paid for contributing to open source. And that's more where the community is going today. And all the open source contributions I do today, I get paid for, because that's the way it should be. We shouldn't have to do that on our own, unless we want to, but not because of shame from the community. Really not because of shame. So an awesome community person, which I don't have on the slides, for privacy reasons, gave me code confidence. He actually really assured me that everyone struggles. Everyone sort of don't know how to code out of the box. I didn't know this. That's cool. I'll still suffer from major imposter syndrome, but I can share my code now. My first open source contribution was in 2012 to this cool site called ProTalk. I added a GitHub icon. And of course, adding a GitHub icon that went wrong, I accidentally deleted 2 files. But Lineker was really nice to me. She gave me constructive feedback. I added those files, and it got merged. No one laughed at me. No one did something bad. Community works. It's real. But that's cool that we had such a strong community. And it's sad that I feel sometimes that I have to talk about this in the past. This is how the community was for me. And this is how it feels like now. So we had this awesome unity where we were all on IRC and we were all sort of in the same place. But now, with Twitter or X or whatever it is being one thing, and there's a community here, there's a Slack group there, there's all the different frameworks. There's Laravel, there's Symfony, there's Sand framework, there's etc., etc. We sort of forgot what community is. And that's a shame. So, some lessons learned. This was me before testing. Also, stop collecting underpants. No one will know what I mean by this, so let me explain. This is a quote from South Park. In the underpants gnomes. Who in here saw this and knows this? Okay, just a few of you. So the underpants gnomes, they go and collect underpants. Because underpants, that's what they need. Collect underpants and then profit. They just kind of forget the in-between part. What do you do in between? So in this case, underpants is information. I'm sure you all collected a lot of underpants today. Well, information. Right? Are you gonna do something with that? Are you gonna take it home and do something fun? I hope so. I hope you don't just collect it. I hope you do something. Take it to work. Do something fun. Another thing I learned was when I was going through these slides. In a previous edition of this talk, I'm afraid to say I made a very ableist statement. I said, you can do anything if you put your mind to it. Having recently suffered with long COVID, I know better than anyone how much utter crap this statement is. You can only do what you can do. And it's important to learn to say no. And it's important to let others help you make lemonade when you really, really can't anymore. Never assume anything about people, online or offline. I made this mistake before, especially wary of men in tech, coming from my background. Everything they say, I will take it in the wrong way. And I'm trying to never assume that they mean anything bad. And I'm getting better at it because there's so many awesome people that I met today. But it's been hard to trust. I learned that we're all ignorant in one way or another, myself included. And it's important to know that, to be open-minded, to open yourself up to other people's experiences, to listen. Education needs to be widespread. We need to know what is and isn't okay. How can we make others feel welcome when we feel so good ourselves? How do we know that that person doesn't? How do we make sure they're included? Discovering the things you did wrongly is a true sign of growth, if you do something about it. I also learned that a community needs several people to run well. Because when it's just essentially me running PHP Women, I can't do everything on myself. I quit and PHP Women is gone. That sucks. Don't let the minority groups do the work for us just to feel welcome. I'm tired of having to do all of the work just because I want to feel like everybody else. Why should I have to do that? That's not fair, is it? Can't we do that together? So, it's time for me to take a step back. And it's time for you to step up. I need your help. We need your help to make sure we have a community, because it's so important for the new people. I saw how many people raised your hand when you said PHP 4 is something that you used. Our community is getting old. We need new people. And how are we going to get new people if there isn't a strong community where they feel welcome? Where are they going to come from? I don't know. And as Cal Evans said, if there's no user group near you, you're it. I actually took that advance and found a Groningen PHP that I'm very proud of today is still running without me. How cool is that? Community and diversity initiatives only truly work when it's a joint effort. I know I said this already, but I need to repeat it. We need to do this everybody together with all the actions that we do. And here's the thing, we kind of forget that we still need community. Because we're so used to the people that we know from the past. We talk in a little groups on Slack and whatever. So as seasoned devs, we forget that we need new devs. They need it more than us. So growing up, there might be growing pains. There's absolutely no end level. So it's maybe not like an RPG game, a really bad one then. PHP is better than ever. It's a really cool language. So don't be afraid to grow. Be kind to new devs. And growing up is best done together, because community works. Thank you.